what's up? Yelling and screaming. Open number 2. Had a failure to launch on our first. Sean, it's Thanksgiving week, and that is always a special time in the NFL world. How you feeling, bud?
Not gonna lie, sprained my neck crew. Myriad of things that kind of popped in and made that happen. And so I'm on a little bit of painkillers and a little bit of muscle relaxers, and I'm feeling good. Shout out to that IPA too.
All you can do sometimes. We have an extra special topic we'd like to start the show on. And I think Sean and I actually aligned on this. So I'm going to start by saying if you disagree with this take, not only are you wrong, you're not a football fan.
This is one of the few times with me and Rick 100% agree. It came to our attention this week after a really, really beautiful game was played by the Steelers and the Browns in the snow. Shout out to Jameis Winston and the Browns for pulling out a win there. But a friend of ours went on the really, really long rant about how weather should not impact football, about how football should be played in arenas in ideal conditions, and that the only thing that should matter is the players and how they play. And to that person, I say, you are not a football fan. You are an NFL fan. You are a money fan. You are a fan of optimistic or ideal situations, because that is not how sports works, buddy. But yeah, it was a really interesting conversation. We had friends chime in from all over the place. We had people start talking about, about injuries. People start talking about like the love of the game. People start talking about the purchasing. But I just want Rick to chime in here and how do you feel about this topic?
When I see the pregame and they cut to that wide angle up into the lights of the stadium, and there's just those big fat snowflakes coming down, there's nothing more exciting than getting ready for a snow game. I love when they come back from the half and they've got the black yardage line superimposed over the snow.
Mm-hmm.
And between every snap, you got the guys with the shovels running down the lines.
Mm-hmm.
Football in the snow is one of the best spectator sport experiences, bar none.
I agree with you 100%.
The level of competition on the field continues to be amazing. But being able
agree.
to lock in as a fan on TV. Now, if you're at the game, you are
even better.
A different opinion. No.
I think it's even better. As someone who has been to, so I will tell you this. I am a huge football fan, and my whole family is football fans. I mean, when I call my mom, my dad, and I ask them, what you doing? Their answer is always watching the game. If it's a Sunday, Monday, Thursday, they are watching the game. So I tell you right now, huge football fans. And I will never forget this memory. I was 11 or 12 years old, and I was up at Beaver Stadium, shout out Penn State, and I got to watch Larry Johnson's 3,000th rushing yard. And I was in Beaver Stadium, which is bleacher seats, so all bench seats, and it's this huge 110,000 fans in the stadium. And it's me, and I'm freezing my ass off, and I'm sitting next to my coach and a couple of my friends from my little league baseball, my little league sports teams. And I will never forget that memory for the entirety of my life. There is no way that anybody could take that away from me. That's an experience that is once one of a kind, something that you can't replicate. And so to take that away by saying that football should only be played indoors, arena football already exists. It's its own sport. And guess what? It's ideal conditions, and they get to run into each other as hard as they want, and it's super fun. But guess what? Of all of the sports where weather can be a factor, football is American football specifically, is the only professional sport of the major professional sports in any country where weather being a factor definitely changes the way you play, but doesn't inhibit you unless it's super extreme. Obviously, you're not playing in tornadoes, you're not playing in blizzard and like true blizzards. We just had that one last year where the Bills had to cancel the game, but they weren't wanting to. They were going to have fans shovel the stadium at $20 an hour to make sure they could play. And that's the beauty of football, is that any given Sunday includes weather. It includes injuries. It includes if your girlfriend got banged by one of the guys from the other team last week. It includes a whole bunch of stuff. And guess what? At the end of the day, it's all part of the game. It's all part of how your mentality is on that field. It's all a part of how you game plan. Game's windy. Guess what? You don't kick as many field goals. You don't throw as many passes. But it doesn't change the fact that you're playing football. It just changes your strategy for how you play. So I am 100% against all teams playing in arenas. I think that takes away from some of the coolest aspects of American football.
And to be clear, the Bills did not cancel that game because it was snowing. They canceled that game because their dumbass fans were still going to drive in the blizzard, and the governor asked them to cancel that game. It had nothing to do with football. It had everything to do with Canadians' inability to drive. The Bills have a brand new stadium being built right now with no roof. And the NFL said to them, they said, "Excuse me, would you guys like to host a Super Bowl?" And they go, "Not more than we would like to play football in the snow." So that's what they're doing. They would rather have snow as a home field advantage in northern New York in the dead ass of winter than they would like to host a Super Bowl. And I can respect that.
And the beauty of that is that teams get to play on whatever their strengths are for home field advantage, right? I mean, Miami designed their stadium with the sun to shine on the opposing fields, on the opposing team's sideline. They purposely designed it that way.
They designed their stadium knowing no one was going to be inside of it.
Oh, well, the other team's got to be inside, and they got to be on the other sideline. And they designed the stadium for the sun to shine directly on that sideline for the entirety of day games, so that the other side of the sideline is 120 degrees in direct sunlight, and they're sitting in a cool 80 in the shade. Guess what? Home field advantage. That's just how the game goes. You look at Seattle. Seattle has the loudest stadium in the NFL. They had for years. They call it the 12th man. It's super loud for opposing teams to play in there. The actual team during practice will pump in sounds of super loud crowds in order for them to get accustomed to it. It's part of their stadium. It's part of their game. Any arena who wants to be in indoors, guess what? Your team gets to practice on that field, whether it's turf, grass, whatever it is. So home field advantage exists no matter how you shape it. But guess what? Weather is part of that. That's a factor that comes into that. So I am all for teams continuing to do the same thing that they do now and enjoying the benefits of having their home field if they get it. If they don't, I mean, it is what it is, you know?
I'm just going to put it out there. If you hate snow football, you're a bad better. All right. It is Thanksgiving week. We have 2 Thanksgiving games, Sean. That's how I'm framing this. We have 2 Thanksgiving games and a Thursday night football game. Lions and the Cowboys, as always, will be playing on Thanksgiving. I don't want to talk about the Cowboys, but I will start with the Bears here. It is absolutely brutal that the Bears have essentially lost on a missed field goal 2 weeks in a row. I understand that they didn't lose on a missed field goal this past week, but if you hit the field goal, you're in a completely different situation. Kickers suck. I hate kickers. Having said that, the Bears, if you added up all the field goals they had this year, it's not going to be more points than the Lions are going to shove down their throat on Thanksgiving.
I will say this: the Lions are an incredible team right now, and they look like the juggernauts of the NFC. Them and the Eagles. I don't think anybody in anybody in that conference is touching those 2 teams right now. They're both riding high. And the Lions, with that incredible offensive line and that running back by committee of 2 guys who could easily put up 100 yards a game themselves. Jared Goff's still a very accurate passer. People can say what they want about him, but the man puts the ball where it needs to be. And their defense is still pretty stout. But I mean, when your offense puts up 35 points a game, 40 points, 50 points, whatever the case is on any given Sunday, it's kind of easy to just be a defense. But I will say this: the Bears losing this week actually tells me so much more about the Bears organization. Not on where the progress is. I see that they've made good progress this year. What I've seen so far is that the losses the Bears have had, the very close losses, are telling me that they're a team who's on the brink of being good. I had a bunch of friends who were from Chicago, from the Midwest, and they talked about how they expected Kendall. You know, I'm sorry, my brother, but they thought the Bears are going to have a winning season. He had the Bears winning 11, 12 games. And I said, sir, that is unrealistic expectations. And you know what? even though it was it was unrealistic expectations. What I've seen from the Bears is that they're capable of doing that. They need a few things to work on here and there, and I think that they're capable of being an 11 win, a 9, 10, 11 win team. In the next few years, next year, depending on what moves they make, and depending on what else happens in their division, because I don't know how, but I don't necessarily see the Vikings being as good next year. I just don't see it. For some reason, I have imposter syndrome on the Vikings, and so I feel like the Bears could actually, could overtake them in some of these games and get that record up. But I feel like they're there. I feel like they're almost there. They're just at the cusp of being a good team. So it depends on how they finish out the season to really give themselves a pat on the back. But like, I think they need a few more pieces, and then they can be one of those formidable teams in the NFC.
Yeah, and Riley calls it out. Really, the offensive line has been and will continue to be an issue for the Bears until they actually go out and address it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see them beating the Lions.
If you're a team that is, you're right. Right now, I don't see the Bears beating the Lions. I just don't see it. But I could see them beating the Vikings. Even though the Vikings are 9-2, for some reason I could see, like, obviously, to lose in overtime on a field goal, you're there. And so I could see them beating the Vikings. The Vikings are one of those teams that this year and the year that Kirk Cousins got is the reason why Kirk Cousins is over where he is right now, is because realistically they won games that were one-score games. So the one-score games are what gonna get you. If you're one of those teams that's a cusp team, one-score games is what it comes down to. You can be a 10-win team or a 5-win team with a lot of one-score games. So the Bears are right there. The Vikings, I expect them to flip next year and be the opposite. And be the team that loses a fair amount of these one-score games. If the Bears can pick up some of those, they'll be in better shape next year.
Well, let's bring it back to 2024. Do we have to talk about Giants-Cowboys at all?
I just want to say one thing. The Cowboys getting a win, congratulations. Like, you won a game, whatever. You should have won more games anyway. So even when they try to tank, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Divisional game, whatever. They should beat the Giants. The Giants are starting their third-string quarterback over their second-string quarterback, which is really fucking confusing. But I guess the Guidos in New York and New Jersey really like DeVito. Guidos like DeVito, so they're super hype about it. I don't know why Drew Lock's not starting, but whatever. Yeah, Cowboys should win this game. That's it.
I'm not a car guy, like automobile guy.
Mm-hmm.
But there's someone working on his Mustang outside my apartment with a hammer. It sounds like the hammer is the predominant tool. I don't think that's how you work on cars. Watching the Packers play Jordan Love at quarterback is like working on your car with a hammer. It's not the right to get things done. It's not going to get you the results you want. But goddamn, if the Packers don't keep winning games, I like them over the Dolphins here on what is definitely not Thanksgiving football. This is Thursday night football. The Packers are going to win again. The Packers are the best team in the history of the NFL to be in third place in their division. I'm scared to death that the Packers win this game, and the Packers fans think that means something. I'm past it. I'm over it. I want the Dolphins to win, and I just can't envision a scenario where that happens.
I can envision a very good scenario when that happens. Right now, the Packers and this week was just a testament to their running offense. Because say what you want, I knew that he was good back when he ran for the Raiders. So say what you want, but I mean the rush offense just looked really, really good this past week. And when you got Josh Jacobs rushing for 3 touchdowns, you can beat fucking anybody. Just throwing it out there. But I will say this: at the end of the day, the Dolphins' offense is significantly better than the 49ers' offense is right now. The 49ers' offense might be, in my opinion, has had the biggest drop off of any offense productivity I've ever seen over 1 year span, given that they still have all the same players. It's not like their offense lost players, realistically. Their offense just lost productivity, and they lost guys being available when they needed them. Christian McCaffrey is available, But god damn it, is he not feeling like the same guy that I'm used to seeing? And granted, they did start Brandon Allen this past week. Obviously, Brock Purdy not giving you what you needed, not being able to play last week was tough on the team. But I mean, Jesus, even when they had him, they weren't able to get the ball down the field. They were, the receiver, like your best receiver was any given week could be Jawan Jennings. Like, what is happening here? And so, getting back to the Packers and Dolphins, the Dolphins are on a mission right now. Tua is trying to prove that he is still the guy and that he can do something that I really haven't seen in a long time. And a quarterback taking a team that was down in the dumps, ready to just give up on the season and make them a playoff caliber team. He was already supposed to be that guy. So seeing right now, I think this week he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. I think they're going to want to beat the Packers and show that they're a good team and not worthy of the record they have. That Skylar Thompson is a fluke and that they are Tua's team and always have been Tua's team and they are a playoff caliber team. So I am going to take the Fins in this game. I'm also tired of watching the Packers.
Raiders, Chiefs, Black Friday football. I really don't have anything on this either. This is two teams I'm just not interested in watching play.
Mm-hmm. That's understandable.
Except for me. You got anything on this one?
That's understandable. I do. I mean, Chiefs should win this game, but divisional games can always be tough. At the end of the day, the Chiefs should have a convincing win right now to prove that they are that team to beat in the AFC. But realistically, for them, they don't care about proving that they're the team to beat. At the end, for them, it's about getting to where they need to get to in order to have that bye the first round, which right now they got. So they could beat the Raiders by 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, or 40 points. And either way, for them, it doesn't matter. For the Raiders, it matters a lot. I mean, this game tells me whether or not they're either throwing in the towel and just going to have a really good season with Brock Bowers, or if they are actually trying to put some things together and figure out where the deficiencies are and play strong football. So I'm hoping that the Raiders play strong football. That's all I can hope for.
I got the Chiefs with more scoring drives than the Raiders have first downs. This Raiders team is abysmal.
You're not wrong. Right now, I don't even know who the running back is. It's Amir Abdullah. He's the starter right now. Zamir White was never a good starter. I don't know why the fuck they had him to begin with. Just there's nothing on this offense, this Raiders offense right now that says we are trying to win football games. Nothing. You've got Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell just running around looking like doofuses. It's nothing for me right now. The only guy I'm still fucking with is my guy Max Crosby. Mad Max still trying to be a winner. Tough situation.
Two teams still trying to be winners. Chargers and Falcons. I proclaimed the Chargers done last week. They're done. This Chargers team gave it all. They put it all on the line against the Ravens, and it was not enough. They obviously are not going to win the division. The Chiefs will win the division, but the Broncos are going to edge them out. The Chargers are done. The question is, do they beat the Falcons and take the Falcons out of playoff contention as well?
I disagree with you. I think that the Chargers still have a chance to make the playoffs. And the reason why is because looking at the rest of their schedule, if they can beat the Falcons, they should beat the Raiders, they should beat the Patriots, and the Bucs are a tough sell. So they could go, 10-6 or 11-6 or 10-7. That might be enough to get that 7th spot in the playoffs right now. Realistically, at the end of the day, I think that they definitely gave it what they could. They gave it their all. The Ravens offense, though, I almost picked up Justice Hill on my fantasy team, knowing that Derrick Henry is the number one running back because he's so dynamic. He's the guy that gets all he gets all the passes out of the backfield. Derrick Henry, I love him to death, but he's not going to he's not catching passes out of the backfield really. Justice Hill's that guy. And when he does, he gets downfield and he really moves. So having a dynamic back like that, that really helps. But I'll get back to my Falcons and Chargers here. And realistically, both of these teams need to win. The Chargers needed to keep pace with the Broncos, and the Falcons needed to keep pace in the division in general. So Chargers get the win here. It really, really puts stress on the Falcons. Falcons get the win here. Chargers still have a chance to sneak in with getting 3 more wins on the season, depending on how the division shapes out.
Steelers Bengals adds to what for me is very quickly becoming the worst morning slate of the season. This is not great. I'm not interested in this game. I actually kind of like the Bengals to win this game. You can wax poetic about division game and how these teams know each other. The Steelers looked not great. And the Bengals continue to be able to score 35 points seemingly at will. Eventually, the Steelers are going to be punished for going away from Justin Fields, and this might be the week it happens.
I'm actually going to agree with you on some of those points. I don't think that Justin Fields or Russell Wilson are really an offensive match for Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense. I think the Bengals are the best sub 500 team in the NFL as far as offense goes. Realistically, they're a team that at any point could put up 35 points on you. The only problem is that they can't stop you from scoring 35 points. But the Steelers' offense is not a potent offense. Their offense is not one that's expected to put up a lot of points on you. So really, it's going to come down to who persists. Is it going to be the Steelers' defense or the Bengals' offense going to get enough points on them to actually push the Steelers beyond their brink? Realistically, if you score 23, 24 points in the Steelers, you win. Because,
So tell me this. Joe Burrow goes to a new team. Where's the best fit? Where's the best
Raiders.
fit for Joe Burrow right now?
To win or to play? To win or to play?
Joe Burrow wants a Super Bowl ring. He's not going to the Raiders. Where's the spot Joe Burrow can go and win next season?
Joe Burrow wants to go somewhere and win next season. And the other quarterback just is a non-factor.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You're plugging in Joe Burrow with the draft picks and the team that is in place.
Pittsburgh.
Not bad,
Pittsburgh.
not bad.
Pittsburgh's got a stout defense. They have enough offensive weapons, and if they had Joe Burrow and they can draft a receiver, even if they can work around and get some trades in, Pittsburgh would be the best fit for him. The thing that Pittsburgh needed was a quarterback, and they found some guys who are definitely smart and understand the game. I think Fields obviously learning from Wilson, but Joe Burrow's offensive prowess is significantly better than Russell Wilson's is at this point in his career. And if he had the same offense and the defense that's as stout as the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is right now, he would be a contender right now. I mean, he goes to any of the juggernauts, he could win that realistically. I mean, him replacing.
I'd send him to Indy. Send him to the Colts. Joe Burrow has shown us that his wide receivers don't matter. The wide receivers for the Colts are faster. And in that division, you really don't need a defense. So you plug Joe Burrow in for me in that Peyton Manning, white and blue, and people are going to forget that the Texans even exist. You slot Joey B in there, and he's going to have 3 white receivers with 1,000-yard seasons and 10 touchdowns. And the Colts might go like 10-7.
Okay, if you want to talk like that, then I'm telling you to throw Joe Burrow in there for maybe the Bucks or something like that. I don't think that in that division right now. The Packers receiver core is still suspect for me. I still don't feel confident in them. I feel like I'd get more out of Bucky Irving and those guys in Tampa Bay than I might get out of the Pack receiver core if I had Joe Burrow in his place. But because they still got some strong guys. I think the Saints, he could go in and do a lot of damage with. And I think if their defense didn't spend as much time on the field, they'd probably be much better, closer to what they were at the beginning of the season. There's a few organizations that I could see Joe Burrow stepping into and just improving on the quarterback situation. But I mean, honestly, I can't really say right now that putting him in the Indy would do a whole lick of good more, because I'm still not sold on Indy's defense, on their ability to close out. And then more importantly, like Jonathan Taylor's been in and out this season. He's been inconsistent as far as whether or not he's playing. And 1 week you got Pierce as the receiver. 1 week you got another guy like Pittman. Like, who's my guy up there? For Indy. So I still feel like Indy's a team that's been in turmoil. And I don't know if plugging Joe Burrow in there would be as effective as plugging him in a few other places. Somewhere like Pittsburgh. Oh, my God. Imagine Joe Burrow under Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin with Ben Roethlisberger was disgusting. Imagine him with Joe Burrow.
I'm just imagining, he'd be teaching Joe Burrow how to, trip kick returners. Once a cheater, always a cheater.
You and the Tomlin kick return grudge.
He showed us who he was. When someone shows you who they are, I believe them.
It's never going away. Oh, goodness.
Texans, Jaguars. Why does this feel like a trap game?
Oh, my God. Honestly, I just don't understand it. The Texans' O-line is bad, though. I think, honestly, when we look at the teams whose O-lines really, really need work, if you had the Texans O-line last year, which CJ Stroud looked phenomenal in that year, you get a healthy O-line, you get a healthy Joe Mixon, you get a healthy Nico Collins. Texans offense is scary. Healthy Nico Collins and a good O-line, Texans offense is scary with Joe Mixon.
And this Jaguars team is really, really bad, except on the defensive front,
who's dead.
Well, no, on the defensive front, it's like the one place where they can actually perform. This feels like a trap game to me. This feels like one that Stroud throws 2 picks and looks like a bad CJ Stroud. And the Jaguars win this game 18-17, something stupid.
I mean, it depends on the scheme. They have the ability of that defensive front to really put a lot of pressure on him. If he can break through and get Mixon moving or keep the line moving, I think that's his best bet. He's mobile enough to be able to get the line to move or move his pocket. It's not ideal, but he can do it. That's really his best bet, because it's not a good look if he's just sitting back there or get eaten alive. They're just O-line's just not good. If they go out this offseason and pick up an O-line, they're a very good team. But that's their Achilles heel right now.
Cards, Vikings. Cardinals coming off a tough luck loss. Holding the Seahawks to 16. That's a big deal for that defense. When I look at the Seahawks and the Vikings on paper, just 1-1, the Seahawks offense is better than the Vikings. Am I crazy to think that the Cardinals could score 10 points and win this game?
Yes. 10 points just seems a little low. But I will say that I feel like there's an imposter syndrome, and I said it earlier with the Vikings. Oh, you got Jets. Sorry. Jets are terrible. They should win the game. Where am I looking at? Oh, Cards, Vikings? Jesus.
Yeah, you look at the Seahawks game. Yeah. I mean, we could jump really quick to that so we don't have to talk about it.
Now, the Vikings
beat the Jets.
The Vikings, for me, sorry about that. I got a little caught up. The Vikings, for me, are definitely a team with a little bit of imposter syndrome. I just don't see it. It just feels like they get a bunch of tight wins. It just, over the Packers, 1 score against the Jets, loss. They beat the Colts, barely beat, 1 score, 2 scores total, but 1 score against the Jags. You beat the Titans, whatever. It just doesn't, it feels like their season has gone really, really light. I mean, beating the Giants, the Niners, who suck, the Jets, who suck, the Colts, who suck, the Jaguars, who suck, the Titans, who suck, and the Bears, who are barely getting to be a good team. All of those don't sound like anything for me.
I mean,
They all
they have to
win
win the
games.
games
They're
they're
winning.
playing. They're winning.
Every team has to win the games against the teams they play against. I'm not at all discounting them. When I say imposter syndrome, no, I'm looking at the rest of their season. And they play the Cardinals, who are mid-tier. They play the Falcons, mid-tier. They play the Bears again, mid-tier. They play the Seahawks, a Seahawks team who, realistically, they're not a top NFL team. They play a Packers team who they'll probably lose to, and they play a Lions team. So closing out against the Seahawks, Packers, Lions, depending on how they do versus the Bears, but Seahawks, Packers, Lions will be a testament to how really strong this team is overall. But the Cards, they're a team that can put up some points if they get Connors going, and if Kyler can get some balls to McBride and really open the field and get the ball down the field to Harrison. They could really, put some points up in a hurry. They also are a solid special team scoring team as well. So don't sleep on that. But the Vikings should win this game.
I think it's unfair to go through the Vikings schedule, say that they're going to win 4 of their last 6, which would make them a 13-win team, and then call them imposters. A 13-win Vikings team draws a home game in the wild card, and it's against one of these trash ass NFC teams. It's against.
Imposter syndrome is.
It's the Niners. It's the Cardinals. Like, the teams they're beating are the teams they're going to draw the first round of the playoffs, and they're going to beat them.
All I'm saying is right now the teams that they beat, most of them have a record under 500. Most of them have a record under 500. They lost to the Rams and they lost to the Lions. They beat the Colts under 500, Jags under 500, Titans under 500, Bears under 500, Giants under 500, Niners, and Texans. So the only teams that they did beat the Packers by 2 points, and they beat the crap out of the Texans in week 3. Those 2 wins are the only 2 wins that I'm looking at and going, okay, this team, now, granted, obviously, any given Sunday, they could have lost any of these one-score games, and we'd have a different conversation. But
how many of those games were played indoors in perfect conditions, Sean? We need the real games, the real football games, where weather was not a factor.
Well, all of their home games are not a factor, right?
I'm not getting back into that conversation.
Baby. All I know is that they beat the Colts. They lost to the Rams at home. They beat the Colts. Then they just played 3 home games in a row. Or away games, 3 away games in a row against bad teams. Now they're going back home for 3 more games, and then they play Seattle, and then they go back home again. So
you talked me out of the Cardinals. The Vikings are going to win this game.
The Vikings are going to win the game. I still got imposter syndrome on them. I'm not saying that they are good. The Vikings, for me, are going to have a better record than I think they warrant playing against the same level talent as other teams.
They could really easily be the best 5 seed of all time.
You know what? They're definitely they might have the best 5 seed record of all time. Best 5 seed of all time. Watch it. Some of those hell,
they might be the 4 seed when this is all said and done. The Lions just got to slip up one. Well, I guess if the Lions slip up, they're probably like the 2 seed.
Nah, even if the Lions lost a game, they'd still be the 1 or the 2. Eagles still got to a couple of losses, and they'd still be the 1 or the 2. If the Lions lost 2 more games,
somebody's got to win the East. I forgot.
Someone's got to win it. Yeah, the Eagles are going to win that division. Probably not lose another game the rest of the season. If they lose 1. They'll go 14-3. They're just rolling right now, so it is what it is.
Colts and Patriots. We don't have to waste any time on this, do we?
No, not really. Colts are still technically alive. Pats can play a little spoiler. That's about it.
Seahawks, Jets.
Aaron Rodgers needs to retire. The Seahawks are here to inspire. That's all I got to say. At the end of the day, Look, right now, for some reason, something is telling me to believe in Seattle. Not to win the Super Bowl, but just that they deserve a little more love than people have been realistically giving my guy Geno Smith. He was a better quarterback than the Jets deserved, and now he's being able to show that out in Seattle. And there's some guys on that team who I just like the way they play. I don't give a shit what anybody said about DK Metcalf's size or his strength or any of those visual things that you talk about in his game. But watching him play on the field and watching the way that he captures the defender's eyes might be one of my favorite aspects of his game. Like the way that not just him, but also the other players on that offense, in particular, when they've got guys, when they force defenders to do what they want them to do based on their body language and their play. Throwing your arms up early, holding a defender's eyes by making them think you're going to catch a ball, making sure that you force them to trail behind you and pay attention to you when you got a quarterback scrambling behind you. Just those little things like that make me think these guys are being coached by some really, really smart coaches. And they're doing a really, really good job of all the little things that help you win a game. So I like the Seahawks.
Titans Commanders. The Commanders did the unthinkable, and they lost to the worst team in the NFL in comical fashion.
The Cowboys are not the worst team in the NFL. The Giants are worse. The Giants are worse.
We're going to find out Thursday.
Damn right.
Ball don't lie. I have nothing on this game.
Oh, I mean, look.
Commanders lost himself Rookie of the Year.
I can't say that yet. I think whoever has the better record wins Rookie of the Year. They're both head to head right now. Whoever has the better record wins Rookie of the Year. However, if the Commanders end up beating the Eagles out for the division championship,
0% chance.
There's a very, very, very small chance. Again, the Eagles collapsed at the end of last season. We got to watch the whole season. But for whatever reason, if the Commanders somehow win it out, then it doesn't matter what he does. He's still Bo Nix loses and Jaden Daniels wins. But if they have whoever has a better record of the team who doesn't win a division will win Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Bo Nix is showing so much.
Losing that game against the Cowboys is the difference. It's over.
I don't think so.
They'll be lucky to win the division.
I don't think so. You know why? Because the Broncos still got to play the Raiders again, don't they? Bo Nix loses to the Raiders. It's the same thing as him losing to the Cowboys. Actually worse. It's actually worse. Because the Raiders have zero weapons. None. They don't even have people they can give money to. So yeah.
That's not gonna happen though.
All
right. Bucks and Panthers. Football's weird, man. Football's real weird.
It is weird.
This Panthers team is ass.
But they're better than I thought they were. Not gonna lie. They're better than I thought they were. And they might
be better than what the Bucks are right now.
And that's scary. Because we watched Bryce Young get benched for Andy Dalton, only to be like, oh shit, wait, I don't actually have this job locked up. And start playing much better football. I mean, a 3-point loss to the Chiefs, and then two wins in a row and a 3-point loss to the best team in the NFL. Gives me hope. Gives me hope.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing like a guy whose agent told him he was going to have to get a real job. And I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that because you know who plays like that every single day? Baker Mayfield. So if I can get somehow out of this matchup like a great quarterback duel, as a fan, I'm in. I'm super excited for it.
Honestly, I'm here for it too. I hope this is like a high-flying game, like a 30 to 35 game. No defense whatsoever. I just want to see a bunch of passes from these quarterbacks to show that they have the grit and the willpower to will their teams forward. I would love to see a last-second touchdown or a touchdown in the last 30 seconds of the game to be the deciding factor. Bucks definitely need this win. Realistically, they need all the wins to close out the rest of the season. They don't need them, but it'd be the best thing for them would be to win out as much as they can the rest of the season to really close out and get that seed, in that number one seed in the NFC South. They're only a game behind the Falcons, but like it's not going to be easy the rest of the season. And then weird enough, New Orleans is still right there. They're only 2 games back, so it's such a tight division right now. Those top 3 teams that like, I mean, weirdly enough, Carolina could still actually win a division.
That's the NFC South.
Technically, they could win a division. Technically,
you know who I miss? Foswit, Gerald, Whitaker. You know what this Panthers team needs? Fozzie Whitaker. They need somebody to just step in and be like the guy. And Chubby Hubby, Chuba Hubbard
I love Chuba.
He's doing his thing, man. He's doing his thing. He got paid. He's working his ass off. And I think you need that hard nose because the Panthers have issues. They have issues all over the offense and defense.
Of course. Well, they gave up all of their receivers. They gave up all their receivers.
Yeah, but they weren't good anyway.
What do you mean? Their receivers went other places to get more money.
I mean, but they suck. But they suck where they are.
Well, here's the problem. If your offensive line is bad, your quarterback has no time to throw the ball to anybody. So you got to start with your O-line. You got to build that up. If you can build the O-line up,
I'm not saying necessarily they sucked in Carolina. They suck now.
Oh, fair enough.
They're bad. They're bad wide receivers, and that's why they traded them away, and they've done nothing everywhere they've gone.
Fair enough. I don't know. I thought DJ Moore was doing a pretty decent job.
Who? Adam Thielen is the best Panthers wide receiver since Steve Smith.
Well, I mean, that's good considering Adam Thielen was a number 2 in Minnesota.
That's what I'm talking about. It's a problem.
But it is a problem. They also got rid of any other guy that was a wide receiver on that offense. So I mean, if you get rid of was it Deontay Johnson, they got rid of him. Like that was their other guy.
Cam Newton could be a wide receiver 1 on this team right now. He got better size, better hops, bigger hands.
Doesn't T.O. still want to play wide out?
I'm sure
he's still trying to get a job.
I think he's playing for that league where the fans pick the plays.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome, dude. Go for it, T.O. Kudos to you.
Rams Saints. I'm interested to watch this game, but I think these teams are kind of cooked.
Here's the thing, though. They're not because the Rams are only 5-6. They're 1 game behind in their division. You can't really say that because they could still win their division. And the Saints, 4-7, are only 2 games behind our division. So this game means something to both teams. It's not about whether or not they're going to win when they get to the playoffs. It really comes down to whether or not they can make the playoffs. And both of these teams have a chance to win their division right now. Depends on how the rest of the season plays out. I'm not saying that they are my favorites. I don't think that they are. But if either one of them can show, hey, you know what? We are much better than what you guys have seen from us in the past couple of weeks. It really makes a point. And to what we just said about the Saints needing a quarterback or having about a team needing a quarterback, Joe Burrow steps into the Saints. It might be a different game, but the Saints have a few other issues. But having a quarterback who can put the ball where it needs to be, I like Derek Carr. I think Joe Burrow's a better quarterback than him. The Rams right now, they are just trying to round into form with all of the injuries that they've had all season. But still, they are 1 game back. So they have a chance to still win this division. And closing out the season, I mean, it's not an easy schedule. They got to play they got the Saints, but then they got the Bills, Niners, Jets, Cardinals, Seahawks. So, I mean, realistically, I don't expect that they're going to beat the Bills. But I think that they can beat all the other teams. And closing out against the Niners, Jets, Cardinals, Seahawks, if they win 3 of those 4 games, who's to say they don't win? Who's to say they don't win the division? I mean, if they beat the Niners, Seahawks, and Cardinals, that's 3 of the 4 games. They should win a division.
If the Saints don't bench and then refuse to re-sign Jameis Winston. They have 10 wins in each of the last 3 seasons. They don't have a quarterback crisis. They don't overpay for a quarterback that looked fine on the Raiders, but is not an NFL quarterback. And they Carr's not as good as Winston. I'd rather have Winston than Carr.
I think that Carr is an adequate quarterback.
Adequate's not good enough.
There's plenty of game managers who have had significantly good careers in the NFL.
But he's not one of them.
You don't think Carr's a game manager?
No, I don't think he's a good quarterback.
I said there are plenty of game managers, and I don't think Jameis Winston is. And I don't think Jameis Winston is any better than Derek Carr. I think you put them in the same situation, they do probably about the same amount.
Carr's not a leader. You got all those young kids on that team. Carr had nothing going after the second game of the season. They had 2 games where they looked like world beaters, and then your fastest player gets hurt, and Carr's completely incapable of hitting guys on deep routes. Like, you completely lost the whole dynamic as soon as the one receiver who could make adjustments in route was hurt. Shaheed went down, and it was just done. Then he gets hurt. Then he comes back, and they've looked better since he's been back from injury. But they didn't look good last year with Carr behind center.
So, hold on. So your argument started off with Carr's not very good. And then you made a statement about only one receiver being able to make in-route adjustments. So you're saying that he could only throw the ball to if he had really, really good receivers around him?
Not even really, really good receivers, just receivers who can adjust to ducks. Carr throws a bad deep ball. If you can't hit a receiver in stride, you're not going to score. Shaheed was fast enough to overcome it. Winston, for all of his flaws, is a very accurate downfield passer. Since he got LASIK. Give me Winston back. The Saints need a quarterback. The Saints don't have a quarterback, and they're wasting all that talent down there.
Ouch. Derek Carr, I give you a little more love than Rick does. I always believed in you. Shout out Fresno, my guy. But
best Bulldogs quarterback of all time.
You gotta win games. So nothing I can say about
Sean,
that.
These next 2, if I told you that of these next 2 games, one was going to be a shootout and one was going to be a rock fight, which is which?
Oh, no, I don't know if I can agree with that on both of those. I think the Eagles-Ravens game is probably going to be the game that's closest to a shootout. I think the Niners-Bills game is going to be a blowout. Absolute blowout. I think the Bills are going to beat the shit out of the Niners. Niners defense does not look good. Niners offense doesn't look good. Bills look like they're just rolling right now. And on top of that, they're going to be playing in Buffalo. Yeah, right. Good luck. I'm going to take the Bills in that
probably
game.
Probably no McCaffrey. Probably no Purdy. I mean, this Niners team should just pack it in and go into next year healthy.
Yeah, they're done. They're done.
Their best wide receiver got shot. Their best running back is on IR. Like, this Niners team is not the normal Niners team that we have. When you have guys on your defense not playing with questionable injuries in a crucial matchup against the Packers, like, your season's over. Pack it in. I think there's a culture issue in San Francisco. I think that it's kind of run its course. We saw in the offseason players trying to scrap for contracts, holding out. That doesn't happen on winning teams. But the Niners haven't won anything. Purdy has shown that he can be that game manager quarterback you were talking about. But that magic can only last so long. And if you have a generational talent like McCaffrey, who has struggled with a lot of injuries, trying to make it back because your team needs a spark, that's not going to be what does it. I think they'd be better served to hold them out. They're not going to win this game against Buffalo. And if
No.
Purdy and McCaffrey and Bosa all don't play, and your wide receivers are 3 guys off the streets,
Oh, you chuck it in. You pack it in. You pack it in.
what's the point? What's the point?
It's packed in. It's done. It's done. Season's done. Realistically, the Niners just need to let this season ride out. They're not. I mean, they still have a chance to win a division, but is it really worth it if you end up injuring guys who are really going to be, really going your rocket to propel yourselves to like a championship? This is not that year. You don't have the pieces in place to be able to do that. But they're not going to pack it in. Obviously, they're going to try to play spoiler. They're going to try to win a division. They could win a division that's a very, very tight division right now, but I just see the Bills, doing what they need to do to close out this game, especially at home. Now, that Eagles-Ravens game, on the other hand, that game I'm super excited about. For me, I love Derrick Henry to death. He's been my number one running back, for a couple years. Saquon is having an MVP caliber season, and realistically, I see Saquon versus Derrick Henry in this game. Whichever running back does better is the team that wins. Because you look at it realistically, and you can get a great game from Lamar, or you can get a shit game from Lamar, where he doesn't really do very much. He's more inaccurate, and he gets sacked. Doesn't take care of the ball as much anymore as well. You can get a good game management game where you've got good passes, a couple good passes downfield. You've got Saquon running really well, and you've got the tush push, which stop me if you can. And so that's the Eagles offense, and it's just gritty. It's no, they don't really care about frills. They're going to run behind that big-bodied, beautiful offensive line. They're going to get guys moving on that line, and they're going to get Saquon in open space. And once he does what he wants to do. So realistically, it comes down to which running back to me is just going to have the better game. And I'm probably going to take the Eagles over the Ravens.
Yeah, and I'm with you on the running backs. That's why I'm really concerned about Roquan. We saw what the Ravens defense is capable of without him, which is pretty much nothing. That looked really, really bad. So I think about a big back like Saquon plunging through the middle of the line. If there's no Roquan there to stop him, he's going to put up another 270 rushing yards. Like there's nothing that can really do it there. So for me, that's the big piece. It is the running backs, but who is in the center for the Ravens? Because if it's whatever hodgepodge they threw out there, that's not going to get it done against a world-class running back.
I can agree with that. And not just a world-class running back, but arguably the best, if not top 2 offensive lines in the NFL. And they lost a Hall of Fame center only to replace him with a guy who needed like 2 games to get into game shape.
Yeah.
Like, incredible how quickly they were just like, we got this now. Yeah, and looking at that defense, that defense, it's for the Ravens could have some issues with without Roquan in the middle. So we'll see what that looks like. But I'll take the Eagles in this game. Go Birds.
Monday Night Football, Browns and Broncos. I think the worst part of this game for me is that it ended up being relevant. Looking at week 13 at the beginning of the year with the Browns and the Broncos, I was excited to take a Monday off for myself, not watch football, not have to care as these 2 shitty teams duked it out. And now I've got one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time playing against Bo Nix. This is an awesome quarterback matchup. This is a Monday night game I'm going to be watching. I'll be cheering for an offensive shootout because I want these guys to do well. Bo Nix has looked very different over the last 3 or 4 weeks than he did through the first half of the season. If he can continue developing at this pace, this Broncos team is going to be one to watch when they win a wild card, and they're staring down the barrel at a Kansas City team in the divisional rounds and have to go to Arrowhead to play.
I'm going to say right now, I feel like this Bronco team is much better than I gave him credit for at the beginning of the season. I didn't have the faith in Bo. I got the faith now. Realistically, right now, him or Jaden Daniels, are my offensive rookie of the year. He's just been playing incredible football and leading his team in all aspects. Realistically, like that run game is not a good run game. It's weak, and yet
Really bad.
he makes it so that offensive have to worry about 11 guys on the field instead of just 10. And so that changes the whole dynamic of the game. Guys like Lamar Jackson, guys like Bo Nix right now, which is crazy to me to put them in the same category, given what Lamar has accomplished. But like Jalen Hurts is the same way, but to an extent. And when you look at when they play, this is not a guy who is just going to sit back in the pocket and take these hits. He's going to get on. He's going to get moving, and he's going to force you to be like, all right, well, I got to put a spy back here. So then that opens up some of the field for some of his receivers potentially. Realistically, if the Broncos have the chance, if they can get a few more pieces in play, if they could get the running back game in going next year, keep a stout defense, and work on some of this receiver work, they could be a team that challenges the Chiefs in the AFC, if not in their own division, realistically.
Bo Nix is. Do I want to get weird? How weird do I want to get?
Do it. Get weird.
Bo Nix is Golden Frieza. Bo Nix is Golden Taysom Hill.
Oh.
He is the final form. He is the final form, the powered up form, the self-improved form of everything Taysom Hill wishes he could be. Sean Payton has taken Bo Nix from aspiring NFL quarterback, and he has shoved 25 years of coaching knowledge into his brain, and he has turned him into everything that Taysom Hill was promised to be. When the Saints signed Taysom Hill at that stupid deal for $40 million, this is what Sean Payton saw. And Taysom Hill couldn't get it done. But Bo Nix is Golden Taysom Hill.
Wow. You know what? The reason why I disagree with that is because Taysom Hill is Tim Tebow in my mind. The dynamic aspect of his game from college and translating into the NFL, he's Tim Tebow to me. I just don't see it. I give Bo Nix props at being a much more of a quarterback than people gave him props for being. I don't think that he's anywhere in the same category as Taysom Hill. I don't think Taysom Hill was ever an NFL quarterback to begin with, period. I think Bo Nix absolutely deserved and earned to be called an NFL quarterback. I think that playing in an organization, in a system that is coached by a very, very well established and strong coach, has developed his game to the point where he understands how to win in tough situations and how to play to his strengths. But Taysom Hill is just like, I don't know. Taysom Hill just reminds me of a guy who played 3 or 4 sports in high school. Like Taysom Hill is a guy who played football and basketball and baseball. That's what his skill set is. He's got enough raw athleticism and talent to be able to be decent in a lot of different random things, but he doesn't have the pedigree and he doesn't have the coaching, but he doesn't have some of the intangibles that I would see for him to be good at being just a quarterback, or good at being just a tight end, or good at being like he could probably be a tight end or a fullback, but as his primary position. But like him being running back is just wildcat shit, realistically. Like I just don't see it. I think Bo Nix is way better pedigree than him. I think he's a much better vision. I think he makes smarter decisions. I think he has a much better arm. And he's much better coached. And he's got a better defense behind him. So he's not having to spend so much time on the field making poor decisions. He also isn't – the beauty of him not having an Alvin Kamara behind him is that he realistically can't rely on a guy who just gives the dump-offs to. So he actually has to play football. He can't just go 60 – he can't go 60% of his passes going to the running back. He can't do that because he doesn't have that talent back there. So I think it is to his benefit that he actually is being forced to throw the ball to a myriad of receivers who I can't even name realistically. I can name Sutton and I can name Sutton.
So, Sean, is it fair to say that you think Bo Nix can still get better?
Yes, I think he can. I
So,
think
what
he
you're
can still
saying
get
is that
better.
this isn't even his final form?
Oh, kill yourself. Yes, this is not even his final form. All right. I think if he had better wide receivers, he would be in a different conversation, realistically. If you tell me right now, if you gave Bo Nix the same wide receivers as Joe Burrow, if you took those receivers from the Bengals and put them on the Broncos, that is a high powered offense right
Yeah.
there. And that is a 12-win offense.
Well, and even just a running back, even just
If you
somebody that's
gave
not
him just a running back, holy shit!
Javante Williams.
If he had Josh Jacobs, done. If he
And
had Josh
I thought
Jacobs, he
I
could
thought
make it done.
I thought they were going to use Estime,
Hmm.
and then they just didn't. And if you know the Saints or know Sean Payton, that frustration will follow him for forever. So I'm sorry, Broncos fans. Get ready for that to happen 19 more times. You'll be inside the 5-yard line, and you'll learn a new running back's name just because. Just because. So yeah,
Look,
I would agree with you. I think if you give Bo Nix weapons, he could turn into something really dangerous. But the fact of it is that the line's set, the defense is set, they have their quarterback, so they can take this next draft and go and get some guys. They can go and get some wide receivers and see what happens. And the
it's a
Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, but the division on the whole is relatively weak on defense. So if you can get any kind of offensive weaponry going, you can score points. And with a defense like the Broncos, it's going to put you in pretty good position.
I agree with you. I think that's definitely their best option is to go out and look for some receivers and kind of bolster that offensive side because yeah, their defense is definitely I think that their defense is second best in their division. And weirdly enough, their division is actually pretty decent on defense. The Raiders defense is terrible, but Chiefs defense is still top tier. Chargers defense is pretty solid and Broncos defense looks good. So, I mean, in that division, defense is a must. So if you can go out and get some more offensive weapons, you're good to go.
All right, that's week 13. Happy Thanksgiving. Let us know in the
Happy
comments if you
Thanksgiving.
have any feedback in general. We've been hitting right around an hour. I think the conversation's been flowing pretty good, but there's always room for improvement. So let us know.
Hmm.
Sean, you got anything in closing, bud?
Happy Thanksgiving. Anybody who's going out for Black Friday, you are a goddamn moron. There's a reason why companies make the whole week for Black Friday. So please do not get yourself hurt. Be safe. Everybody who's traveling, get to where you need to get to safely. Enjoy your time spent with the people that you're going to be with. Get back home safely. Everybody who's staying around, staying at home, just have fun, enjoy yourselves. Take this little break to really appreciate the energy of the people who are around you. Don't stress about it. It's not meant to be a stressful holiday. It's called Thanksgiving, not thanks stressing. So please just enjoy yourselves and eat a lot of really good fucking food because that's what I plan on doing.
Our new app, Chainlink, has sponsored games up and ready to go. So if you happen to see
Ooh.
this and you have a company or a brand that you would like to promote in some way, please reach out. Club 602 on Instagram is probably the best way to do that. Sean, give me a game of the week so we can highlight it for our fans here.
I'm going to have to go with the Eagles Ravens as my game of the week. I mean,
I like it.
realistically, it's going to be two really high powered offenses. Two of the best running backs, if not the two best running backs in the NFL, period. And I think it's just going to be a fun game to watch. I mean, Lamar Jackson is electric. Jalen Hurts can get the ball to those receivers and they can make things happen. And so at the end of the day, it should be a very, very fun game to watch. East Coast game too. The two cities, by the way, are only an hour and a half away from each other. So just speak on that. Like, I think that's going to be the game of the week for me.
Well, hey, check it out in the Chainlink app. It'll be outlined in gold with the yelling and screaming brand across the bottom. Thanks for joining us. That's what we got for week 13. We will see you guys next week. NFL's getting hot.
Late night. NFL's getting hot,
Yeah,
baby. Now it's all fun.
Thanks for joining us. Peace.
All right. KS Splash.